After paying tribute to the victims of the 26/11 terrorist attacks at the Taj Hotel in Mumbai, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres stated that there is no justification for any kind of terrorism, and that doing away with terrorism should be a top priority for all nations in the world. 10 members of the Pakistani Islamist terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out 12 synchronized bombing and shooting attacks over the course of 4 days in 2008 in the financial hub of India. 9 attackers were among the 175 fatalities, while more than 300 people were also injured.
Terrorism is absolute evil. There are no reasons, no pretexts, no causes, no grievances that can justify terrorism. Terrorism is absolute evil, and terrorism has no room in today's world. So I feel deeply moved to be here, where one of the most barbaric terrorist acts in history took place, where 166 people lost their lives.
The UN chief's words were a responsible call to the world to be vigilant to the threats of global terrorism, and they were endorsed by many. However, actions in the United Nations by a few member nations were not aligned with Guterres' speech in Mumbai. It came as no surprise that China and Pakistan undermined India's efforts in the United Nations to combat terrorism. Beijing recently blocked a US and Indian resolution calling for the blacklisting of Pakistan-based terrorist Hafiz Saeed, the son of the architect of the Mumbai terror attacks, and Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed. Observers familiar with UN processes claim that China is abusing its position as a permanent member of the UN Security Council in order to halt the inclusion of Pakistan-based terrorists on the Sanctions Committee of the UN Security Council's Al-Qaeda and ISIL-Daesh organization. Pakistan refuses to answer questions at international forums about the terrorists that it harbors within its territory. When questioned during the 90th Interpol General Assembly in New Delhi about the extradition of organized crime figure Dawood Ibrahim and on turning over Hafiz Saeed, the Pakistani delegate kept quiet.
Hafiz Saeed and Dawood Ibrahim most wanted hai India mein. Kya aap Bharat ko saupenge?
While speaking at the conference, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, however, called for international action to stop the financing of terrorism.
When threats are global, the response cannot be just local. It is time, and it is high time, that the world comes together to defeat these threats. Friends, India has been combating transnational terrorism for several decades, long before the world woke up to it. We knew the price of safety and security.
Numerous terrorist organizations such as the Al-Qaeda, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Lashkar-e-Jhangvi continue to thrive in Pakistan. Pakistan has applauded its own efforts over steps taken to combat terrorism on numerous international venues, including at the United Nations and the Financial Action Task Force. And although the FATF has recently removed Pakistan from its grey list of terror financing and money laundering after 4 years on the list, Pakistan still gives shelter, money, and training to terrorist groups. India has been a victim of cross-border terrorism for more than 30 years. India, with an eye on global safety, has regularly informed the United Nations about its neighbors' continued indifference to investigations into the financing of terrorism and to the prosecution of senior commanders and leaders of UN-designated terrorist organizations. India will not be fazed by China and Pakistan's tactics and will continue to hold the countries accountable for their roles in global terrorism.